we've grown from a 5 million market cap company up to 65, back to 40, 35. So it's also about proving to the market that this isn't a one-off. It's very rare to see these stocks perform and really consistently build a real asset. And that's what we're doing. And I think if we continue to deliver, we'll continue to get traction in the market. Our objective is, we view this target as a 30 to 50 million ton target, and we want to build up credibility for that thesis. We can drill all year round. We just finished putting in a brand new road that allows us to get around even faster and more cost efficiently.
Yeah.
We're going to be drilling from now and have nonstop drill results out to about May of next year. That's a big differentiator is we're in the northern Abitibi. We're next to a mine that was in production for 20 years. So we have a power line, a substation. We have an all-year access road. The Quebec government put in a gravel road all the way down to the heart of the deposit. It's really key to our thesis. I think so. Salb produced 52 years. We have a similar surface footprint and similar mineralization makeup. And really, Salb also had very strong recovery, similar to the met testing that was done in 2018. And Salb was an open pit that ramped into underground, again, similar to our thesis of taking what was purely an underground deposit in 2018, drilling this in the first quarter, drilling it shallow, and really trying to highlight the open pit in addition to the high-grade underground. So certainly a big part of our growth thesis is around the comparison to the Salb mine, because it was such a successful mine. It ran into the early 2000s. Copper was quite a bit lower than today. The reason in the early 2000s, the reason why the Quebec government made this discovery alongside BHP was out of trying to find additional mill feed for this mine. So in 1997, while the mine was at the tail end, they drilled the whole contact to try to find an additional massive sulfide source. Now, this wasn't like a massive sulfide source right at surface, but I think if they had proved out the continuity of this would have been put into production if they had B26 resource in 2002. So that's why the government was involved with this project and why they developed this since discovery, because it was a government mandate to keep that town and mine open, but they just weren't able to do it fast enough and commodity prices weren't there.
Well, that's an interesting point. And I think you inherited over 100,000 meters of drilling, I remember, right?
Well, exactly. And like, we have all that in a warehouse in Val-d'Or, and actually my team is out at that historical core yard this week. And one of the things that we're noticing, and one of the theses that we outlined, is there's a lot to be sampled within the historical drilling that was outside of the high grade zone. So we're seeing a lot of disseminated material that we got to sample that is within a potential pit. So by having all that core, we're able to leverage that investment and also sample some of those additional areas, because some of the unsampled areas was quite surprising from some of the review over the last week. And I also think with how low the copper price was for a while, this disseminated stuff had no value at the time. But 0.5% copper in this market is very work commitment by the end of next year. I would say realistically, our PEA will be worked on in the fourth quarter and delivered in the first quarter of 2026. But also at the same time, we view this as having a lot of resource upside. So our focus is updated resources versus the PEA, because a lot of times the PEA comes when people are at the tail end of exploration. So we want to make sure that the market understands that PEA is a deliverable rather than a mandate, like rather than our internal mandate, because we do see a lot of upside through the drill bit before we really put a cap on this with economics.
But I think it's fair to remind our listeners that you were given 7 years to explore, and you are aiming to complete the entire earning within the shorter of 2 years or something like that, resulting in that PEA.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really speaks to the quality of the asset and how few of these there are around. There's one more in Canada with Forend Mining that has a valuation above 1.3 billion and is now going into development. So really, these polymetallics, the majors want copper gold.
Yeah.
And the majors realize how economic these polymetallic systems are, where you can build this on the copper credits and get the remainder of the credits out of the ground that is
Yeah.
just complete margin. So I don't, it is also, and it's part of the reason why we work so hard to get this opportunity is
Yeah.
because these are very hard to find, especially within being developed by a private company and never being in the public market since discovery. So it's a very rare opportunity, and the fact that we were able to finance this largely with high net worth individuals so
Yes.
quickly really puts us in a good position. We're at just above 40 million Canadian. We still
Yeah.
have 15 million Canadian in cash. We started to put some of the comp slides, and really the in situ value of the deposit versus our peers is very clear disconnect. And I think part of what we need to do is we need to get this out to larger audience, institutional shareholders, which we're starting to do. But also we've grown from a 5 million market cap company up to 65, back to 40, 35. So it's also about proving to the market that this isn't a one-off. It's very
Mhm.
rare to see these stocks perform and really consistently build a real asset. And that's what we're doing. And I think if we continue to deliver, we'll continue to get traction in the market. And Foran was a 20 to 40 cent stock for quite a while until they made some of these new discoveries, until they got 100 million of financing from one of the pension funds that put the stock away and it doesn't trade. So I think we have the ingredients to mirror that story, and that's why it's we're quite excited about it, and we're going to do the right thing here,
Yeah.
and also really manage our cap structure as well. Like
Yes.
we've been able to do these financings without any warrants. Sure, we're fully funded for 20,000 meters. We think that we should be drilling 50 to 75,000. We think that this project justifies it, but we want to ensure, and we're in a position of strength to continue to finance at the right
Yes.
price and not be held to needing to
Again,
take a financing.
I know it's getting a little long here, but I think the one benefit to also talk about being in Quebec is the path towards building a mine eventually. Not
Yeah.
that this is yet to be your concern, but I
Hmm.
think in other parts of Canada, unfortunately, it turns out to be a very lengthy, onerous process. How would you describe the process in Quebec?
Well, that's a great point. Like half of copper production worldwide is in areas of political instability. So that
Yes.
tier one copper supply is becoming more of a focus. So Quebec and all of Canada, as you alluded to, is not equal. Each province has its strengths and weaknesses, and I'm confident that Quebec is the best of the provinces, partly because you have so much financial support, you get refunds on hard money spent, you have institutional financing from government entities that provide equity investment and are very patient shareholders. We have great partnerships with the First Nations that are very pro mining. But really, our goal at Abitibi is to sell this.
Yes.
And in order to sell it, it has to have a path to development or mining. So the majors, that's a focus to them. But really, with us having government partners that are
Yes.
in this to create jobs, there's no better alignment between parties to see this as a development. And we have the team that can do it and lead towards showing this as an opportunity that a major will want to take over. Um, so I think it's certainly my goal is to have a major 5-10% investment over the next 6 months. I think that will help add credibility.
To maybe wrap this up, what is the near-term news flow likely to be, likely to look like?
We're finalizing and working on an internal resource that we're trying to bring out. We're in the process of evaluating to bring out publicly. That's still in the works to determine final time frame, but we're really working on our open pit thesis with the underground, changing the commodity price. So that's something that we're working on. I'd say in the immediate future, we have the results from 338, which was the deepest, what we've announced is visually the deepest intercept in the project's history. This was drilled about 100 meters deeper than hole 236 that hit about 5% copper equivalent over 7 meters. So we've announced that we've hit about an 85-meter zone visually with a 15-meter high grade. We announced today that the wedge hit about 50 meters away that actually looks better than the pilot hole. We then drilled a step out hole up to 400 meters further west that went down 1,500 meters. So I think those are very key results that we're going to be bringing out in the month of October. And those, I believe, will help validate this Western plunging system and where we're going to see the next 20 to 10 to 50, 30 million tons of growth in this deposit. And then some. I think part of what I outlined today is for a system of this alteration signature and strike length, drilling to 1,000 meters vertical is still an overall shallow underground mine.
Yeah.
Given the size and scale of these deposits in the Abitibi, this is still what we think could still be scratching the surface of a much deeper seated system. And that's why we're so excited about these initial holes. So besides that, we have 2 drills now spinning on the mid-resource target, and those will be drilling 500 to 800 meter holes. So we'll be able to turn those out faster to really target the large open space between the 300-meter vertical and down to the limited drilling at depth. So I think between the mid-resource and the Western plunge, we do think we're going to be able to build a lot of tonnage and really show this as the 30+ million ton target that we believe it is.
Thanks, John, for responding to our questions today, and we'll certainly follow up with you